If you guys need any cards, packs, sleeves, anything of that nature, shop on TCG Player using my affiliate link in the description. What's good, YouTube? Today we've got a pretty interesting video because Nim has been so kind as to provide me with the receipts regarding the deck profiles and kind of the meta breakdown of the latest event that he and MBT held in Pittsburgh that I, of course, did attend. It was a lot of fun. Great meeting everyone. Very cool people. I know people kind of like these meta breakdown type of videos, so we're gonna get into that first here. As you can see, we have a very basic looking pie chart just going over what was represented the most at the event. So I've got a lot of stats here, sort of describing that. Starting off, of course, as has been kind of the theme in the Edison format metagame for the past, I don't know, it's been months now. Hero is just like the clear #1 definitive breakout deck. It was definitely far and away the most represented individual deck at the event. I think it was about a third of the entire field was hero decks of some kind. That's including Diva Hero and Hero Beat / Diva Hero Beat. I think there was like a Hero Frog deck, but that's in the other category because that was like a frog deck. The hero category you see here is just Diva Hero and Diva Hero Beat. I think it was like half and half. Or it was actually even a little bit more Diva Hero than there was Hero Beat, which was kind of interesting to see. I do think Hero Beat is probably the better version, but like Diva Hero just can have that like crazy high ceiling. And a lot of times when you're going to an event, that's kind of the approach you might want to take. Just like bring a deck and hope you can get a little bit lucky and see those high ceiling hands a bit more often. So there is a kind of logic to why you might want to play Diva Hero over something like Hero Beat. That being said, I do think Hero Beat is the better build. But there were tons of both of these, of course. They were just the most represented decks in the field. I saw them like everywhere. So yeah, Hero's still pretty much the #1. Second up, we've got, actually, I think like Vayu and Quick Draw were pretty close in terms of representation, which actually the Vayu is not surprising at all, right? I mean, like Vayu always tops. The Quick Draw was super surprising to see that one represented a bit more than like other stuff, like maybe Blackwings. I think there was one or two Blackwing decks. I'm not sure. I don't think there was very many. It's just like part of the amorphous other category, which means there was at most 2 Blackwing players at the event. That being said, the event wasn't huge, so like take these stats with a grain of salt and all of that. But still interesting to see like a little bit more quick draw being played, I guess. I'll talk about that later. First, let's talk about the Vayu. I mean, I think personally that Vayu is I might even be like the second best deck right now. I think after Hero Beat, I'm kind of feeling Vayu as the like next runner up in terms of best decks of the format. I think my teammate Snack just like won an event the same weekend with a Vayu deck, and we're going to be doing some videos on that later as well, so you can look forward to that. But Vayu deck, just like a really strong, really consistent, very much like Hero Beat in that way, where it's like it's not the craziest deck. I mean, it has some sack plays, probably more so than Hero Beat maybe does, but it's not the craziest deck, you know? It's like, you never feel like Vayu is super unfair unless they just draw completely ridiculously insane, which can happen. There are the power one-offs, but usually playing against Vayu, you feel like it's a fair deck, right? But it's just so, like, consistent and good at what it does, and it just, like, is enough. And that's just enough at Edison format. That's what you really need to be, like, the best deck. And, like, Vayu is, like, the definitive sort of dark stuff turbo deck, too, with, like, the Greffers and the Armas. Definitely uses those cards better than anything else. Very good at abusing those. Of course, Raikou Hamster Caius. It's just the best Raikou Hamster Caius deck. It's just, like, the best good stuff pile. It uses all the dark cards. It uses the Raikou Hamsters. It's the best mill deck. So I think Vayu has a lot going for it. Not surprising to see it be one of the more represented decks. There was, like, one build of the Vayu deck. It was super crazy. It was like on Triple Miracle Dig or something like that. I actually played against it, and I think the other builds were just more standard. But yeah, that was super cool to face as well. But I think the standard Vayu build is probably better. Next up, we have the Quick Draw decks. I think these were mostly standard. There was one build of Quick Draw that was like Volcanic added into the Joshua Schmidt version. I think I actually played against that one in round 2 or something. Yeah, it was like really early on in the event I played against it. So I guess there was that. I think the other builds were a little more standard. But I'm not sure Quick Draw actually performed well. It wasn't in the top 4. I don't know if it even got close to the top 4. Maybe just a couple of people. There were some people that decided to just like, I'm going to show up with Quick Draw. And, just completely arbitrary reasons. So maybe they're just trying to have some fun. Quick Draw's a fun deck and all that. So can't be hating on that. But yeah, Quick Draw, kind of surprising. And then Welladad, I think, just encompassed like all of the zombie lists that were played at this event. Like there was a few Welladad decks, and there was no Diva Zombie anywhere, is my assessment of that, I think. Yeah, I think that is the case. It was just like some Welladad decks, and no one was playing Diva Zombie. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it was just some Keegan viewers trying to be cool and stuff, which, like, based, I respect it. But yeah, it didn't do too well, and kind of emblematic of the whole like disappearance of zombies from the meta. That it's just like some people playing Welladad. I mean, zombies used to be one of the most represented decks out there, and it's just like gone. I'm not really sure why. I still have not figured out why. But someone, if you know, just like tell me, because I'm kind of confused. I need to take the Thunder Kings and stuff out of my side and the DD Crows because just no one's playing zombies. Then again, the second I do that, I'm going to run into some zombie players, and I'm going to get, like, Diva, Goblin Zombie, make Brianak, pitch Mizuki, OTK'd, so I'm going to regret it. But, yeah, those were, like, the main ones. And then this other category is just decks that had, like, only 1 or 2 people playing it. There was actually a lot of that. I think it was about, like, similar to the level of people playing Heroes. So, like, a third of the field was just playing random stuff. Of course, I kind of fall into this category as well. It was like 2 Machina decks. One was normal, and then one was like a Kuraz Machina list, I think. Yeah, it was definitely a Gear Town Machina with Kuraz. That was a cool one to see. Then, as I mentioned before, there was at least one Hero Frog deck that kind of falls into this other category. There was a Dark Gaia, I think it was a Dark Gaia Rock deck that was pretty cool. Of course, there was the Flamvel list that got 2nd place. There was the Chaos Fairy list that got tied for 3rd. Actually, like 3 of the top 4 lists were just like random stuff from this other category. I mean, that is the cool thing about Edison format to me, and it kind of always will be, which is that just, if you get the right combination of like luck and skill, you can pretty much win with anything. I mean, it's true there's a meta and all of that, but the power level differential between stuff is like so small that you can realistically probably pilot anything and do well with it at some point. So that's pretty cool. I think, oh yeah, there was also at least one Disaster Dragon deck at this event. I saw that one on the stream at some point. So that was in the other category. So the other category is just like an amalgamation of stuff that I just mentioned. It's like a third of the field. And then Quick Draw, Vayu are more like somewhere near 13% of the field each. Heroes is like a third, and then Welladad is like 9%, I think, if I remember correctly. So those are kind of the metagame overview stats that I have for you. Now we're going to be looking next at the top 4 deck lists for the event. So let's just move on and get into that. First place list, of course, was my Moja Cat build. I already did like a whole video deck profile breakdown on this, so if you want to see more regarding that, just go like click on that video and watch that. I'm not going to go over the whole thing here again. It's like the list is right here on DB. We can go through all the cards really quick, but I'm not gonna really get into discussing it. Like I said, I discussed basically everything I wanted to say in that other video on the channel. Posted it like 2 days ago. Of course, I just like had to get home and upload that straight away because I was very hyped after the tournament. So yeah, like I said, just go watch that. Coming in at 2nd place, we've got Michael Cho's Flamvel list. I've always been a fan of the Flamvel deck. Of course, it is one of the lists that topped the original SJC way back in 2010. Very, very cool, just like concept. I love the like sort of idea of setting up these big rekindling plays. Just like very cool. I think the lists always look super tight. I love like all the flip things with the Book of Moons. It feels like there's a lot of synergy there. Of course, this deck hasn't fully held up with the passage of time, but it's still like a decent threat in my opinion. And yeah, definitely a nice performance there, getting 2nd place. So let's go over the list. We've got a Gale and a Cyber Dragon. I think that is kind of standard. I don't know. A lot of them seem to really like this one-off Gale Cyber Dragon. I'm not really sure why. Especially this list is like down a copy of Caius compared to usual. Usually it's like triple Caius. This list is only on 2 Caius. They are on Sork. I think Sork's pretty good in here. I would generally think triple Caius, but especially if you're playing that Cyber Dragon is another way to enable it. Also, I think you can play Tragodia in Flamvels, and it's pretty good. It's just like you play a ton of 4s, and it's like you can pitch Magician to steal stuff. You could summon Magician and Synchro 8 with it. I think it's just really good in that sense. Also, they're not playing Charge or Card Trooper, and I think you should play Charge and Card Trooper. It's just like so free in terms of ways to set up Rekindling. Interesting tech is the Compulsory. Of course, we've been seeing this card pop up more and more lately. I think it is very good in decks that play flip monsters like this deck does. I think it's a pretty good choice, just because it blanks that Nobleman of Crossout in post-board games, and it's just like generically pretty solid in the meta. I mean, we saw that the meta was very hero-heavy, just like out zero for free. Of course, against other decks that synchro a lot, it just eats synchros for free. So Compulsory, very good. Call of the Haunted is another interesting choice because they're not on any kind of like Card Trooper, Sangan, or Dandelion. So there's nothing really chain and bring back. I'm kind of wondering what the logic behind this card is actually, because I don't see a lot of great call targets that I can think of. Maybe just like bring back Dog and hit over something is good, I guess. Maybe Call is just that good of a card. Like I've been talking a lot about how I think Call the Hunt is just like super underrated, and the card is actually just amazing. So maybe it's just like that good that you can play and everything. That it's conceivable to me anyway that could be the case. Because actually I don't play a ton of great targets for Call in the Moja Cat deck that I like showcased. And I just kind of played Call in it anyway, because it's like, yeah, it's just a good card, you know? So I kind of like this too, actually. Main things I would say is probably, I think, Charge Trooper, and what was the other one? Tragodia. I think those should probably be in there. But yeah, I think pretty solid list. Flamvel lists just always look very, I don't know, there's something just visually appealing about them to me. I can't quite put maybe it's all the 3 ofs, because it's like you play 3 of this, 3 of this, 3 of this, 3 of Book of Moon as well, and then 3 Spy. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It's like some modern deck building virus that makes me like it. But yeah, anyways, congratulations to Michael Cho. Very cool list, a very solid run, managing to snag 2nd place. Okay, next up we have 2 decks tied for 3rd/4th place. I guess tied for 3rd place is how it works. So first up we've got Brendan McCutcheon's Diva Hero list, and I think Diva Hero was one of the biggest decks at the event. Yeah, I think there was even more Diva Hero than there was like Hero Beat or Diva Hero Beat, if I remember correctly. So yeah, naturally one of them did convert into Top Cut. This was actually I think this was the only player I lost to at the whole event. So yeah, the list looks, I mean, it's pretty standard. They're on the Triple Caius, they're on the Dad, they're on the Diva package with the Gilman. They're on Stratos, Double Malicious, Double Prodigy. That all looks pretty normal. Most of the lists aren't playing Alias these days, I don't think. One thing is they are playing Snowman Eater in the main instead of like the one Treeborn Frog that I think has become more typical. They're also opting for Armageddon Knight over Greffer and playing one Discard Trap instead, I guess, is the thinking. And then they got the Sangan and also the Spirit Reaper. I think Spirit Reaper has been seeing more play in this deck. I do think it is a pretty solid option. And Sangan's pretty standard in these Diva lists because getting to Diva is just like very good at setting up your explosive plays, or you can get the Prodigy or like whatever half you need to set up some kind of Colossal Arm combo, OTK, whatever, you know how it goes. The spell lineup looks really standard, of course. Allure, Rhoda, Brain, Mind, Few, Miracle Fusion, Spell Trap Removal. I think that is pretty much like standard, like very, very textbook there. I definitely agree with that spell lineup. Trap lineup, we got the good cards, and then we've also got a Return and a Mind Crush. I don't really get what the Mind Crush is. I mean, Mind Crush is just a good card. I guess I could see maining it maybe. I just feel like it's not a great format to main Mind Crush in, on top of the Dust Shoot. I think the Hero Beat matchup is just like really iffy. It's like okay, but I don't know. I feel like Mind Crush main would be better if you were just more afraid of like frogs or something. And I think frogs have pretty severely dropped off. There was like one frog deck at this whole event or something. Like literally, Return is an interesting one because I'm not sure how much I like this card in Diva Hero. I know a lot of Diva Hero players like playing it. I just feel like it's another win con that you don't need. You know, you have so much gas. Do you really need Return on top of that? I just think like the issue that you're going to be having in Diva Hero is just losing with like brick hands, you know? And adding like more ceiling doesn't really fix that problem, and it doesn't really like compensate for any kind of weakness that you already have. Like you just have such a crazy ceiling anyway. You can go like, you know, Dad, level 8 Synchro, Miracle Fusion, you know, you just like the deck goes off already. Do you really need Return? I guess like you could say that about a lot of things, but I think Diva Hero can be kind of bricky compared to stuff like Zombies or even Fairies, just other decks that play Return from the different dimension. So I'm just not really sure I see the need to play this card, but I guess like you can argue like everyone's playing Deep Prison and Bottomless and it helps you set it up maybe, so maybe it's just better in this format. Also interesting, this deck was on double Deep Prison and double Bottomless. This is actually a really heavy back row kind of Diva Hero build if I'm thinking about it correctly. I think a True Heroes build that a lot of people have been playing has like significantly less back row than this, although that build also plays main deck DDV, which I think is super sus. A whole different discussion there, though. The DDV is fortunately in the side deck of this one. They're also on Super Poly. No Raptinus, though. I'm not really sure Super Poly is worth it without Raptinus. I'm not really sure Super Poly is worth it at all, actually. I think the card is a little bit overrated, potentially. I guess with all the hero decks running around, you think maybe it's probably just worth it to throw it in there. And I can see that, you know, if someone doesn't play around at Game 2, they could get completely owned. So I can sort of get behind that one. And I mean, most of the side and the extra deck stuff is just pretty standard side and extra deck cards. I guess the Consecrated Light is a little unusual. They're on the second Snowman Eater. Yeah, overall, pretty solid, pretty strong deck. Diva Hero always just, like, very threatening to play against. You feel like they could just go off on you at any moment, you know. Anyway, that's enough for this one. Let's get into the other list, which is Chaos Fairies. That one was piloted by a friend of mine, so I actually recorded the deck profile with him IRL, and I'm just going to attach that on at the end here rather than going over his list in DB. So let's get into that. We have another deck profile, which was the top 4 Chaos Fairy list piloted here by my friend Evan. Say hello.
Hi there.
So, you played the Chaos Fairy list.
Yes, I played the Chaos Fairy list. So, basically, I went to this event and I made a very interesting deck building decision in that I net decked. We had 5 rounds of Swiss. I went 4-1. So my first round I played against Diva Heroes, and I won in time, actually. That was a pretty cursed Game 3, in which I unironically orange lighted a magical android.
Oh my god.
So, yeah.
Was that the guy who finished top 4?
That was not. That was his teammate.
Okay.
Yeah, it was his teammate. So then I think they were probably on about the same brew. So then round 2, I played against actually a Carpath viewer who brought Geartown Machinas.
Oh yeah,
to the event.
Garden and stuff.
I also won in time that time. Fortunately, that would be the last time that I would win in time, but I actually could have lost in time due to a last-ditch limiter removal, but just barely. So, yeah.
They were doing like end-of-phase procedures at this event.
Yeah, so they were doing modern time rules.
I guess it did keep things moving really fast.
Yeah, but no one was like siding into like burn cards as far as I'm aware. So
yeah, I didn't see it. But everyone just has Android in the extra.
Everyone does have. People were, yeah, you did see some androids and thought rulers, but it seems like over the course of the event, people got better about not playing into time. So then. Match 3 was my feature match against what was it? Michael Cho on Flamvels.
Yes, I think that's right.
And he was the
second place.
Yeah, right. So that was on stream, and we won that 2-1.
That was a crazy game.
Yeah, that was That was a really cool match. There was some really cool plays, such as using bottomless under decree to free space for gores by my opponent.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but that being said, like the games that I was winning, I was in that series, I did win pretty convincingly, and game 3, I just outdrew them. That game 3 was pretty.
He rough. Opened 3 Flamvell Magicians. I think.
Yeah, I honestly felt bad. So then round 4, I played against Carpath on Moja Cat. I bricked and got 2-0'd, but round 5, I played against
that was the Diva Hero.
Yeah,
player.
the top 4 Diva player, Brandon, I think. And he was undefeated at that point, and I did manage to take him out 2-0. But there was a moment in game 1 where he resolved a return from the different dimension for 5, including a Brianak. And he only had 1 card in hand, and I was just trying to poker face, hoping that he would not pitch for Brio to bounce my Dim Alk. And by like miracle, he didn't, and I was able to add back a Battle Fader off of Dim Alk and win the game.
Whew.
So then in the top cut, played against Carpath again, got completely destroyed again.
Yeah, I kind of sacked. I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah. So this is, as I've said before, this is a net deck, so you're going to see a lot of familiar things, but we're going to go over it anyways. So first off, we have 2 copies of Christia. I mean, this is your boss monster.
Card's pretty good.
Yeah. So, but like, why don't we play 3, right? Well, it's because we're playing Chaos Fairies, and we actually have a few more boss monsters than normal. So we really don't need all 3 Christia to win the game. And actually, I won most of my games without needing Christia. Even like...
Yeah, Christia's just like a nice bonus, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think
it's
that's
still probably the best boss monster in there, but you know.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the strongest cards of the format, but I think it's really nice to have a fairy build that feels less reliant on it, because since Christia isn't like a card like Absolute Zero or Dark Armed that will like clear the field when it hits the field, like it'll, you know, clear things out, reduce the board state. Like, you know, if you're relying on Christia to stick to the field to win the game, that can feel really rough, because if it gets outed, you're not making this huge trade like Ab-Zero or Dark Arm. It's nice, and that is one of the reasons why I decided to go with this as opposed to the more standard fairy deck. But yeah, so let's continue with the fairies in question. So we have the engine to support our
I just
Christia.
need to point out, there is a common Shining Angel, a Hobby League Shining Angel, and a secret Shining Angel.
So
you care?
This is so there's going to be a lot of interesting rarities in this list, but this one actually is not my fault.
All right.
We had a shipment that just like got damaged and could not ship, and so we had to do some scrounging for angels, and so that ended up with these.
Yeah.
We asked ahead of time, and they were cool with Hobby League.
We got lucky that they were just like, yeah, Hobby League's fine, whatever, at the last
minute. Yeah, kind of lucky. I was prepared to, like, last minute
play a second Nova
go
Summoner.
2-2 Angel and Nova Summoner.
That would have been cursed. All right.
But as for discussion, like, you know, these recruiters are a big part of what hold up, like, the fairy engine, right? As it turns out, even in a like format with Raikou Hamster, recruiters are actually still pretty good, and I pretty much always liked seeing these, but I don't think I would have put in more. I think I pretty much saw them just as much as I wanted to, so I don't think I would consider adding, like, say, a second Nova Summoner. And then so Dim Alk was, I mean, I believe on MBT on stream said how like Dim Elk is one of the stronger normal summons of the format. And I mean, I agree with like an asterisk, right? Because you can still miss with Dim Elk, but really the big asterisk is this does always miss timing to Raikou. But this is a really strong card. It's really nice using this like mid-late game when you have a bunch of stuff banished, because if things go south, you could use your Dim Elk float to add back like a Battle Fader or like some other defensive card like Orange Light or Honest as a way of, you know, not dying. But if you're not in trouble, you could go for like a Christia or a Caius and get aggressive. So it's really nice how versatile it is. So next up, here's the real reason why you play fairies. That we got the hand traps, because this is like the only deck that just gets to play this many hand traps in Edison format.
There are even more if you think about Fader and Gores as hand traps, but
yeah. But these give a lot of punch to the fairy engine in the way that they both set up Christia and are powerful defensive tools that are very difficult to play around.
I have two questions, though.
Okay.
First of all, unserious question. Did you ever Orange Light using the ulti Orange Light to pitch the common Orange Light?
I think I might have done that on stream.
Okay, and then the serious question is, did you ever side out Orange Light?
I never sided out Orange Light.
Yeah, I also never side out Orange Light.
For one thing, I just never saw a matchup. I just didn't run into matchups where it would be bad, but it's also like, it's hard to find a matchup where it's bad.
Yeah, normally you would think like Hero Beat, but now they all play Diva and stuff. So
yeah,
it's like
it's also
still
like
good there.
It's also like, do I really want to get rid of like? Because even in matchups where it's bad, you will have a way to, you will like sometimes run into times when you want to Orange Light, but it's still a tuner. Like you still have the looming threat of like Brio plus Christia, which is
Some
an FTK.
people sided out against Blackwings, and I think that's just wrong. Like,
It's like what?
yeah, all the good plays in Blackwings get stopped by Orange.
Yeah, like
Blizzard, Dad.
I mean, hell, you can negate Kalute. Like even
yeah, that can happen.
So yeah, these are just really
and Honest, obviously,
really powerful. You do need to be careful. You do need to be very deliberate about how you Orange Light, because for one thing, you gotta keep track of your fairy count, and you do have to discard 2 cards. So you gotta make sure it's value. You're getting value out of it. But I think, since we have ways of manipulating our fairies in graveyard, I think we don't need to be that afraid of it. So then next, let's get to the chaos part of this chaos fairy deck. So
Sork and worst Sork.
we have Sork and we have Sork at home. So fortunately, I did get to drop this on stream. I was very happy about that. I did also have the Sork in hand, but I went for Enrise anyways.
Optimal.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's bigger.
It's bigger. We had to do it for the content, but yeah, it's just like, as it turns out, a worse Sork is actually pretty good. And this did come up, no joke. Like Gage and Joseph were trashing it on stream, but in my rounds, it came up surprisingly often. And then, but we do need to support Enrise with enough Dark Fiends, specifically Dark Fiends. So that's why we got Caius, Double Fader, Tragodia, and Gores. So
we're Sangan.
Yeah, we got the.
That's a Dark Fiend too.
Yeah, I almost forgot. Got the Sangan too. So that is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 Dark Fiends.
It's like 7. Wait.
It's like
there's 8 of them, but the faders only count as half.
Yeah, it's like these are like kind of like, because you're only really getting these graveyard if you're milling them, but still like
you can set them in packs.
What's nice is that like you only need 1 of these in graveyard for Enrise to be live.
That is true.
And like max 2 for your other chaos dude. And what's nice is that these are all just good cards in and of themselves. Like, it actually is really nice to be a fairy deck that just has triple Caius. Like, it just gives you so much more tempo And it's another reason why we don't live and die by Christia.
Solves a lot of problems that the DD Warrior Lady does not.
Yeah.
Like Hamster Raikou.
Exactly.
And like Catastor and...
Catastor's a big problem.
And Duplock.
Yeah. Fader is really good in this deck. Like, just that you can Dimmalk add it back makes it, like, I think, just stupidly good. It's just like a really powerful defensive tool. It means that, like, you know, it means that you can just like pass on nothing sometimes, or like, you know, like have a field that's, or like end on a field that's like weak to brain control, and your opponent still has to respect you because you could just Fader Kai's them. So yeah, so that's the Fiends. Our remaining monsters are kind of we got some good stuff, toolbox kind of monsters. So we got one Warrior Lady, one Raikou, a Valley, a Card Trooper, and a Cyber Dragon. So going through these, Warrior Lady is one of your like strong like Shining Angel targets, right? You can crash. Valley. Yeah, you can crash into stuff. I was usually going to Warrior Lady, but maybe I'm bad.
Well, you want to go into Valley if you have the Minecon or the Brain.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about that in a bit. Warrior Lady solves problems. It's really good. It's very good, very versatile card, right? Like, you can catch people off guard by setting it. Speaking of catching people off guard by setting it, one Raikou, we're playing this primarily because we're playing the Minecon package, but it is still a good card. I believe normal, like, Pure Fairy builds play more.
Sometimes they play like just two random Raikous or something.
Yeah. We're only playing one because it's not quite as strong, but it's like, it's still kind of good to have in the back, because like it means that if you set a card, they know it's probably a recruiter, but they have to respect that it could be Raikou. And it also, like, it's also a problem solver in and of itself, because it can out problem cards. And then Cyber Valley, yeah. So first off, it's an enabler for mind control. Like, you can mind control Cyber Valley, and it's just really free to resolve that. It's a Shining Angel target, like, you know, potentially like a defensive Shining Angel target. It's like, it can be weird sometimes though, because, like, as it turns out, normaling Cyber Valley in passing usually doesn't go very well.
No, that's just a bad play.
It's not a good play, and, you know, you don't go for that, but, you know, sometimes you just have the Valley in hand, and you're like, man, I wish it wasn't a bad play to just do this. Card Trooper is mostly good stuff. It puts stuff in graveyard, which sets up your chaos monsters. It can trade into set Raikous and draw you cards. Cyber Dragons, just kind of a similar reason. It's like a card you can just drop and trade into stuff. It's just a bit of extra aggression.
It's another way to enable Caius.
Yeah. It's kind of like, because you're always going to at least be siding the Sidras, so sometimes it's kind of just nice to, like, main one, side one, and yeah, we can talk about that when we get to the side deck, though. So that is it for the monsters. We're on 29 monsters. So next we have 6 spells. So we got Brain Mind. Yeah, I had a really disgusting Mindcon on stream, where we Mindconned a set, Flameville Magician, rest in peace, synced for Urbellum with Sangan, searched an Orange Light, almost forgot about that on stream.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
And then hit directly, shuffled a card back. It was really devastating. So then we have our staple back row removal. Not much to be said about that. We have, since we're playing a Chaos build, we can play Allure.
8 or 9 darks or something.
Yeah, we have enough darks to support Allure. I mean, sometimes it does, like, kind of clog. Sometimes it will clog your hand. That just goes with the territory, but
also get something banished for Dimmalk.
Yeah, getting something banished for Dimmalk is quite good, because, like, also, like, Dimmalk can also add something back for Allure, which I've done that several times. Just like add a Banished Fader or Caius, and then just Allure it. And then finally we got Book of Moon. Just as a random defensive tech, we're not on very many traps.
It works under
for
Decree.
A certain reason, yeah. So yeah, it also helps. Book's also good into some bad matchups for the deck. So very much was definitely a fan of the random book. And then for our traps, we're playing 2 Decree.
The best trap.
Yeah, Decree's really good. This came up on stream, like, it kills Light Imp, it kills, like, annoying matchups, and this is a deck that kind of, like, likes the high monster count anyways. And then we're just playing behind that
the 3 just broken traps.
3 traps that win you the game if they resolve, basically. You know, Dust Shoot, Return, Torrential, all just really, really huge blowout cards. So that's our main deck, 40 cards. And then we have our extra deck, which I pretty much never touched.
You didn't sync at all, not for Brio or anything?
I just didn't have great opportunities.
I mean, the extra deck's not super important.
If you
play the 6s, you'll be fine.
I think, like, that tournament, I was kind of just, like, having hands. It was just not that as good to go into the extra deck as it normally would be with the hands I was getting. So, like, I think you would use it more than I ended up doing, but yeah, it's whatever. So we got Chimera Tech. It's kind of, like, self-explanatory. It's, like, a free way to, like, make Cyber Dragon, like, check machine decks. I did have to teach a machine player the lesson to not just leave Cyber Dragon with your machines the hard way. Oh, no. So, yeah, pretty much an auto-include. And then we have our 8s. So, RDA, Stardust, Thought Ruler, Colossal.
Should probably have had Darken in there. But
yeah, so this RDA is only here because we just didn't have Mistworm or Dark End all. It didn't really matter because I wasn't touching the extra deck much anyways, although I think there was one case where if I had Dark End, I would have gone into it. So there was like at least one case where I missed the Dark End, but it wasn't a huge deal. Then we have our 7s. Mostly just good stuff. 7s.
Cyber Dragon plus
Cyber Dragon plus Orange Light. We also have Brain Mine, so we want to have a variety of levels. Ancient Sacred Wyvern is because we're light deck. I didn't make it ever though, but
it can come up.
It can come up. Then we got 6s.
The ones you actually should play, the Koyo and the Brionac.
Yeah, and then we got
I guess we have that one.
Got our third wheel.
I don't know, there's a lot of space in this extra.
There's a lot of space in this extra. You can honestly, like, put whatever you want, do a bit of spice, put some Ojama Kings in it just to intimidate.
Okay.
Got our 5, the good 5, and Armory Arm. Again, it's always just like, you just gotta have them in the back just in case you need to slam a Mind Con on someone. Okay, so side deck. So we side into the third Christia because we weren't playing both. Sometimes you're playing against a deck that just really gets dunked on by Christia.
And just run into any frogs, did you?
Did not run into any frogs.
I saw like one.
So it's like if you're taking out your Chaos monsters, you can bring it in. If you're playing against frogs or just a deck that just really gets dunked on by Christia, then yeah. Didn't side into it in this event because I didn't run into any of those. Next we have the one DD Crow. You see, very interesting decision to side 1 because the other one didn't come in the mail. So yeah, that's why.
It's probably fine.
And then we were playing. We're siding the second Cyber Dragon. Another very interesting decision to play one alt art and one normal art.
You're killing me.
Yeah, this is a. You see, this is for the mind game tactics.
The mind games are
so
strong, sure.
I'll go game 2. I'll side out my normal art Cyber Dragon and then side in the alt art.
Oh, and then they think that the second one is still out there, but it's actually not.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, dude. And then we sided into the second and third Warrior Lady. This was mostly because we had some issues getting some like other side deck cards, so we kind of decided this in to fill space. But I actually was siding into Warrior Lady decently often
Their matchups where it's good.
because there's actually surprisingly good number of matchups where it's good. I found that if there are cards I really need to just side out of my main deck because it's bad in the matchup, but there aren't many cards that I really want to bring in, then I can just bring in Warrior Lady.
Yeah, it's just like fine.
And then finally, we got
this is my favorite card.
Triple Electric Virus. So I just really don't want to play against dragons.
There was one dragon player.
Actually did not play him at all. Did bring these in against machines though. But like seriously, this deck has very good matchups into so much of the metagame, but dragons. Dragons are just such a bad matchup. Honestly, I think it is perfectly warranted to dedicate an unnecessary amount of side deck space to hating on dragons. Oh, hey, look, more dragon hate. So Book of Moons is to set Quackmere Dragon face down, or to set Vanity's Fiend or Fossil Dyna. So yeah, it's good into like annoying matchups like that. We also side into My Body as a Shield. So side into this because we really don't like deck dev. We really do not want to eat a deck dev. So we side this. I like to bring this against Diva Hero because Diva Hero players like to side deck dev. And also because it's at least passable against Ab-Zero. Like it's not like incredible, but at least gives you a way to play like out Ab-Zero without like getting completely board wiped. And then finally we have more blowout traps, and so these we bring in if we ever want to side out Decree.
Did that happen at all, or you just play a bunch of trap decks?
Let me think. I was playing against a lot of decks that played like a decent amount of traps, but not really any decks that I bring out all my decrees against.
So maybe you sided out one sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes I would side out one. Which, yeah, it does sound kind of... weird, but sometimes, like, I felt like, I could just bring in this, like, Mirror Force. I didn't really get, like, any matches where I wanted to bring the Rust in, though.
Alright. Well, that wraps it up.
Yeah.
Cool deck. Must have been invented by some absolute genius.
Yeah. Really carried me through the whole event.
Yeah, congratulations on top 4.
Yep.
Alright, that's going to close out the video then. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. Alright, see you next time, everyone. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Furthermore, if you enjoy my content, you should think about becoming a channel member. You get access to tons of bonus content, and it's a great way to help support the channel.